Hey guys, welcome back to my kitchen. I got a great recipe for you today. I made this the other day and I just wanted to share it with you because it was so tasty. It's for vegan meatballs. Maybe you could spell them M-E-E-T balls. But it's a bean and gluten based recipe, so the ingredients are fairly simple. We're going to start off by blending 1 can of cannellini beans that have been rinsed and drained. And you can use any type of bean really, depending on what you want the meatball to taste like. So this is more of like a chicken meatball because it's light in taste, light in color. You could use a garbanzo bean, that would also be like a chickeny one. If you wanted a more meaty, like beefy one, you could try dark red kidney beans or something like that, a darker bean or a lentil. So I'm going to take my 15-ounce can that is drained, and of course I'm going to add more water to it. I'm going to put a cup of filtered water in there. I'm also going to put a 1/4 cup of A1 steak sauce or any vegan steak sauce. There's not that many that are vegan. This one is though, just so happens to be because it doesn't use anchovies. That's what makes steak sauce not vegan. And of course I'm a little short on the steak sauce. I know it's in there. I'm gonna get it out in a minute. I don't want to bore you with that. But I'm also going to use a little bit of soy sauce. I only have my dark soy sauce. But I don't measure anything usually, but for the purposes of this, I'm going to call that a teaspoon. So that's going in there. Then I'm going to blend it until this is as smooth as a baby's buttock. It's got to be smooth because you don't want any lumps in there. So I'm putting that in the blender on sauces. That's blended up. It is super silky. I got the rest of the Worcestershire sauce out of, not Worcestershire, but steak sauce out of there. So now I'm gonna work on the dry ingredients. This is 2 cups of Vital Wheat gluten. This is the protein from wheat flour. They like separate it out and they make it into a powder. So I don't know how else to explain that. It's like almost pure protein. There's like almost no carbs in there. So then I've got some pepper, about 1/4 teaspoon of pepper. You really don't need to add any more salt because you've got the steak sauce and the soy sauce, so that's pretty salty. 1 teaspoon each of garlic powder, granulated garlic, and some onion powder. Also a teaspoon of smoked paprika is going in there. You can adjust the flavors on this really easily. If you want to make a more Italian type meatball, put in some fennel seeds ground up or some oregano. I'm today making more of a traditional like Swedish-y type meatball, so that's why there's no oregano or anything in there. And let's see, let's call that 1/2 teaspoon of mustard, powdered mustard, and 1/4 cup of nutritional yeast. That's very good for B12. So I'm just gonna mix this all up because you don't want to have any pockets of like too much nutritional yeast or something. It's going to taste weird. You just want it all nicely mixed up before the liquid goes in, because once the liquid goes in, you'll see what happens. It's going to be very not doughy, but like a rubber band, because gluten in bread is what makes bread spongy. That's why when people go gluten-free, they get very disappointed with the bread because it tends to be very hard and crumbly. The gluten is what makes it elastic. Alright, and this is my secret ingredient, 1 cup of almond flour. So basically almond flour is just ground up almonds. So we got 1 cup of that. If you don't have almond flour, you could use ground up walnuts, you could use ground up pecans, you could use cashews, or any combination. So now let's get that almond flour mixed in, because same reason, it's going to be like a rubber band. You'll see exactly what I mean when we're all done. You don't want any, you want equitable distribution amongst the gluten. Alright, so now we're going to pour in the bean puree. Make sure you get all of it out. You might have to adjust this after you mix it. Like if you feel like it's too dry, you might have to add just a little bit more water. Or if you feel like it's too wet to hold together a meatball, you could add a little bit of extra gluten. Not a big deal. So now, watch what happens. This is pretty cool. The way it comes together, it's going to be like a ball of Play-Doh when you're done. Alright, so now you got it mostly mixed up. This is going to be like a bread dough because of the elasticity. So you're just going to want to knead it to make sure there's no dry patches. You know, you don't want it to be with the flour. You don't want it to be with the flour. You want it to be not with the flour. That's a new cooking term. I just made it up. You don't want to be with the flour. And that's flour, F-L-O-U-R, not F-L-O-W-E-R. Alright. So this is almost where it needs to be. So now you're going to make your meatballs. So you're just going to pull off a chunk, and just like the olden days when you used to eat meat, you roll off a little meatball like that. And then we're going to put it on a parchment paper and pop it into the toaster oven at 375 for about 30 to 40 minutes. Alright, so look at how beautiful these are just out of the oven. And look who just waltzed in here fresh from a movie. She saw Singing in the Rain on the big screen.
Oh, so good.
So you're about to try these?
Yes.
Go ahead, I cut one open for you. Now, in all fairness,
Feels hot.
Yeah, it is hot. Blow on it. I'm gonna cook these a little bit longer, or I'm gonna let them sit in some vegan mushroom gravy. But like, if you were making these for like a Meatball Hero or something, you would put sauce and whatnot on them.
This is gonna take it over the top.
Yes, but right now, I mean, this is the naked truth right
Sean,
here.
try. I'm gonna get Sean's review. Wait. What do you think?
The texture is really nice. The
Yes.
thing that gives it that meaty texture is the almond flour.
Good job.
All right. So for more recipes, make sure you give it a thumbs up if you like the video. Subscribe for more. And until next time, much love.